So this is an image I downloaded from Flickr like this. It already had the words on it, and I don't like the font. The font's okay, but it's just kind of boring. And so you didn't have to do this step. You needed to find an image that you liked for your quote. So let's just pretend that this is the image that I wanted to use. It's like, oh, I like it. It's got a silhouette of the girl, and it's got a nice, high, contrasted background. Yeah, this is cool. This is what I want to do. So what I proceeded to do is I copied her, copy paste, and this is what I was left with. And I then used, and there's a number of ways I could do this, the magic wand tool, and I deleted the background. Now, the only way you get the checkerboard or the invisible background here is if you already have a number of layers. So on your image, just make sure you've duplicated your background. You always want to do that in Photoshop. Duplicate your background first, and then start working. And hopefully that makes sense from when we worked in Photoshop. There's space in between there. I want to get rid of that, so I just click with the magic wand tool again. And I'm just doing a quick hack job on this so you can kind of get the idea. The next thing I want to do is I just want to crop this so that it's not super huge. So I'm going to go to Image and Crop. And now I'm ready to export this. So I'm going to go to File, Export. Oh, I'm sorry. Go to Save for Web. And this is an important thing. If it were a JPEG, it would have a white background and defeat the whole purpose of what I'm trying to do. I couldn't hide text behind here. It has to have a transparent background. And PNGs allow us to have millions of colors. GIFs are transparent as well, but they only do 256 colors. So we want higher quality, so PNG 24 is what we want. Then I'm going to save it, and I'll just call it clear. I can call it anything I want. I'm just going to put it there. I'll replace that. And now I'm going to go over to Illustrator, and you can see I already have my graphic in here. And just as a reminder, if your workspace is not the same size as your picture, you go to Document Setup, click on Edit Artboards, and then you can drag the lines to fill in the size properly. And then I would just click here, and it takes effect. So what I want to do now is I want to import in, well here, let me bring the text down so you can see what it looks like. The text is over her. That's not what I want. But fortunate for me, I just created that other image, so I'm going to place that. And when I bring this in here, voila. Now I'm using the arrow keys to line it up properly. So that's pretty close. So what I get is that kind of look. Now, what's happening if I look at my layers here, you can see that I have the picture in the foreground, then I have the text down at the bottom, I have the text at the top, and then I have the original image. And I'm just layering them in my layers so that I get that kind of effect. And the final thing is I want to just show you a few things about the text, and then I'll show you how to import the font. When you open up the character box, I'm just going to close these so I can show you where that is. Under Window, come down to Type, and then Character. You have a lot of control over the font. And, well, one, you can pick the font. Second, you can change the size. You can make it bigger or smaller. But you can also, take a look at this. If I hit Enter here, this space in between the lines is controlled right here. So I have control. I might want to make the words sit on top of each other a little bit. Let's try this. And I keep shrinking them down. Whee! Okay. I can also, again, change the size of the font right here. Type in the number or keep scaling it. Yes. So you can see how it's piling on top of each other. That's because this number right here is not automatic. If it were auto, it would be like that. But I can change the number manually and get the words to kind of pile on top of each other. And it's pretty neat. So last thing I'm going to show you is just in messing with this, let's bring this down to 150. And I'll go like this. Oops. Just highlight the text one more. There's a couple more things I want to show you. This controls how close the letters are to each other, and I want you to explore this as well. Let's try stretching it out a little bit. Let's go to like 100. Maybe you like this, maybe not. But I just want you to be aware of it. And you know, if I want to get really crazy, I could, you know, let's see, let's move this a little bit. Okay. And then I already created this, and I changed the color a little bit. And there. So, you know, I can mess around with this to create the color I want. Now, for you, I'd ask you to sample a color in your image and then use that color for your font, or a contrasted color, like the complementary color. So if you had, you know, like yellow, you would use blue or something like that. If you look up at the color wheel, you can see what we have up there. So, final thing, how to download a font. So let's go over to the web, and linked on our description of the project, I added in here, download a font. And when you click on this link, 1001fonts.com, you'll see thousands of fonts. And you can just kind of scroll through here and take some time and find something that looks really interesting that kind of represents what you're trying to say, because fonts have a lot of power. Hey, there's the one I've used. What I do is I click download, and it downloads a zip file, which you can put anywhere on your computer. I'll set mine on the desktop. Once you've done that, you click on the magnifying glass and open up Font Book. Font Book on the Mac controls the fonts, and you can install them from here. So we go to File, Add Fonts, navigate to wherever you put that downloaded file, and you'll notice here I can't really do anything with the download. What had happened is the zip file, which is this right here, I have to double click it. Once I do that, then it makes it a folder. And you can see I already did this a few times. But I just need to click on the folder that decompressed when I double clicked it, and click open and wait for the magic. Oh yeah. And then I click up here, if I go alphabetically, where'd it go? There it is. There's the font. It's now in Font Book, which means it's on the Mac. Final thing is when I go back to Illustrator, you can see it's here. It will automatically show up in Illustrator. So you just have to, you know, refresh this and look, and you'll see it in your list of fonts. All right. So just in review, we used Photoshop to cut a part of the image out so we could do the layered effect. We then brought that into Illustrator, and using the layers in Illustrator, you can then move things around. And layers are very similar in Illustrator like they are in Photoshop. You can drag these up and down in front of each other. And again, in review, color. You want to use color intelligently depending on the color of your image, to use contrast to create an effect. That and good design, think of CRAP, contrast, repetition, alignment, proximity, and I can help you with that. We want to create that kind of cool looking poster look. All right,